So, the title, Preparing the Front Office for Their Digital Future. Now, some of the most seminal albums in recent history have gone by a different name. So the Beatles' self-titled album went by the White Album. Bowie, when he re-released his second album, changed it to Space Oddity. And the same has happened with Led Zeppelin and Metallica and various other bands. So, I'm not saying the next 20 minutes is going to be the most seminal of the Global WealthTech Summit, but like the artists before me, I wanted to inject some energy and some slightly different thinking. And I had a second title, which I wasn't sure would pass the keen eye of the event organisers. So let's see if I get away with it on a second slide. So let's talk technology's role in leading wealth management to its digital future. Why and how can tech push through the slow pace and the standard, this is how we've always done it bollocks, in order to digitise and reach success? Now, since the Big Bang in 1986, technology has been responding to regulation and the front office, basically keeping them from tripping over themselves and keeping out of each other's ways. It went from having to phone the LSE and open outcry to electronic trading. So electronic markets filled with smart order routers and algorithms and people blended seamlessly to give price, size and depth and exploit that to trade. That's all technology. Similarly, the standard handwritten ledger has gone from there to live portfolio positions, interactive analytics, charting on a web, in a portal, in an app. Again, all technology. But most of this has been reaction to order and necessity, and not technology leading from the front. And because technology is not leading, it slows the rate of change and minimises the benefit of digitisation. So it's time for tech to lead. And why is that? Well, look, I've said it's slowing change, and I've said it's limiting potential. But let me expand on that a little bit. So when Leo Fender and Les Paul were inventing the electric guitar, they had to think a little bit differently. In this change, it's just a small change, sticking a microphone in a guitar. But what a massive change. If you speak to a rock legend like Keith Richards and say, what would have happened without the electric guitar? His response, I'd just be playing awfully quietly. Stunningly dull. So tech is fantastic in that it has a unique view. It can look at things differently, and it can also look at things across the entire business. Digitisation brings speed. If you digitise the client experience and the front office, you're moving at speed into the business. If you haven't digitised end-to-end, you're going to create problems. And those problems are going to reverberate back through the client experience, ruining that and undermining your digital investments. But get it right, speed improves, customer experience improves, and the return on digital investment could achieve rockstar status. So unfortunately for wealth management, the revolution has occurred. Whilst we're debating this, the rest of the world has fully digitised. They're live streaming the results. Wealth management is still waiting for an update in the Financial Times in the morning and a bit on the news at 10 at night. So digital revolution is complete. It's complete in terms of how you engage with the client. It's complete in terms of how you engage internally with your business and externally with providers. It's definitely not how we've always done it. Zoom, DocuSign, Portal is definitely not job done. So it's a really important thing in an audience like this to say that this industry has the technologists in order to deliver exceptional solutions. But what we need is that opportunity to innovate, the opportunity for fresh thinking and to get all of the departments on board. You might be a little skeptical. So I'm going to draw an analogy from a different industry. I'm sure you can guess which one. But this is an industry who has been phenomenally successful in digitising, and they have some great lessons for us to learn. So, crank up Huey Lewis and the News on your record player. The Power of Love. Hit 88 miles an hour, and let's go back to 1986 and the Big Bang. You're accessing your music then on vinyl. the lucky few might have had some CDs. If you're out walking about, it was the Walkman and the cassette in your pocket. Rock stars were just rock stars. They weren't the global brands that we know today. But the key, premium experience, was the concert. So, back in the DeLorean, accelerator again, 88 miles an hour, back to the future. Through the technology development that the music industry has seen. Past the minidisc, past the iPod, racing past Napster, smartphone, back to today. The industry today sits in stark contrast to that of 1986. But some things, some really important things, remain the same. The entire business model has changed. I remember collecting my pocket money, £20, HMV, CD, to go in my CD rack. That's been totally decimated by freemium models. The streaming platforms have simultaneously removed enormous production costs, distribution costs, globalized distribution, driven down the cost for consumers, and delivered fantastic value for money. In financial services terms, they've closed the advice gap and solved many of the problems from consumer duty. The artists still reap massive rewards, and the pinnacle is still the concert. Look closer, and it gets even more interesting for wealth management. Clients can engage hybrid, totally fluid, in a way that we can't yet imagine in wealth management, or certainly if we can imagine, don't have mandate to deliver. They can stream, download and listen to their favourite artist as they walk home on the tube. When they get home, their mood, they can pick the artist that suits their mood, get a glass of wine, put on a vinyl, Bowers & Wilkins speakers, sit back and enjoy really high quality music. Or they can still go to the concert. They can have the excitement and the engagement and the fulfillment of that live environment. Digital in music has delivered effortless hyper-personalization of the customer experience. It's something that we have to dream of. You may still be doubtful. You could look at the freemium model and say, yeah, 60% of people on the freemium model are on the free side. 60% of the premium model are under 40. It's absolutely spot on. But that means 40% of the people are paying for it. And of the 40% over 40, 20% are 55. It's absolutely core clients for wealth management. Now that number, that age demographic, goes up more and more when you look at podcasts. The older demographic is streaming more and more. TV and film, YouTube usage. When you reach retail, 80 to 90% of people across all demographics are digital. Because digital doesn't have a demographic. It doesn't have a net worth. So while I'm still on stats, and just to prove the flexibility point is still relevant, final sales are going up 7% every year. And to prove that you're not too old to party, 30% of all festival goers are over 40. So, hopefully, you can see the picture that digitization works incredibly well when done with flexibility. So let's imagine that wealth management business of the future. So this is customer experience, fluid, totally blending human and technology in ratios that create that hyper-personalized consumer experience sweet spot. The A side of this, the client says, self-serve, slip my ISA. They then decide they probably need some advice on protection and pensions. So they take that and maybe have a hybrid model for 12 months, at which point they say, hey, I'm done with that, I can self-service for a while. Later in their life, they get a nudge around a key life event, maybe paid off a mortgage, maybe their kids are of a certain age, and they decide to take full advice, which takes them into, through retirement and older. It's flexible, it's efficient, it's compliant, it's value for money at every turn. The B side, the front office gets immeasurable increases in efficiency. That efficiency allows them capacity to win new clients. The end-to-end connectivity speeds up the time from that first handshake to the first check from the client, bringing money into the business faster, and that end-to-end connectivity, creating extra efficiency, drives down cost. So you can think of this as a pathway, this return on investment pathway that starts with creating productivity. Those productivity gains allow you to gather more AUM. With that, you gather more revenue. And with the new revenue, you're exposing yourself and getting more market share. Add to that driving down of cost, and you get incredible shareholder value. So these conversations with your business about what you're trying to achieve with your technology, it's exactly going down this path. So the message I hope I'm delivering is that clients have adopted digital technology on their own free will. They're digitally willing, and fortunately for wealth management, not yet digitally demanding. But that position won't last forever. So it's essential that we accelerate into this reimagined state of flexible solutions. So I have 5 suggestions for this. So I'm not a technologist and I'm not a consultant, so I'm not going to be talking about pods and agile or anything along those lines. These are 5 suggestions to help you bring the front office and the rest of the business with you on a digital journey. Hopefully, changing their mind from this is how we've always done it to let's digitize. So the first one, wealth management has a fantastic product set. It doesn't need technology to invent trading fractional crypto shares in the metaverse. That's just everybody putting their effort in the wrong direction. And the reason for that is very clear. When we're all young, we're kind of chasing the thrill, enjoying ourselves, enjoying our lives in search of instant gratification. But something really interesting happens to a human when they find the one. When they fall in love, their world perspective changes. The house becomes a home. They start thinking about being together, they start thinking about families, and they start thinking about the future. And with that, their perspective changes to deferred gratification. And wealth management is absolutely fantastic at serving people who have a need for deferred gratification. You can see this already in the oldest millennials. The oldest millennials, the ones that we always kind of berated about loving avocado on toast and always seeking these experiences. Well, guess what? They're now seeking out financial advice. They're seeking it out from a person. They're seeking it out from hybrid. And the reason they're doing it is they've found the one. They've got a good career. Their house has become a home. They don't have enough time to do things. It's important, and they just want some advice. Now, advisors are very good at uncovering what we call the powerful why, which is something I'm going to talk about later on. Next, time is running out. Wealth management is full of inefficiencies, operational inefficiencies. Lots of it is down to the classic, this is how we've always done it. It's also ad hoc requests for certain clients and clinging on to tasks that really aren't the function of the front office or anybody else. As a tech firm, we spend a lot of time looking at the human changes before we think about implementing the solution. We follow a process of keep, reallocate, and automate. Keep the tasks in the front office that are a USP, that genuinely create value to you and the client. Reallocate the tasks that don't. I would quite happily argue that a portfolio manager or an investment manager is not a trader. So they shouldn't be clinging on to the fact that they just like a bit of trading. Reallocate that to the expert. Give yourself time back for the USPs. And when you've done that, you can then automate the rest and create speed. The really important thing about this is that you're highlighting the value of human tasks when done in the right time. So, find the sweet spot. So, before COVID, Robo was broadly on its knees. I think it's done a very good job of collating column inches and debt, not as much AUM. But we have a pandemic, and suddenly everybody realizes their clients are very, very willing and able to use technology and be far more digital than you might have imagined. And that's led to a resurgence in the interest, resurgent interest to the technology that robos can provide. But what's really important about that is that you don't take technology and create a single channel that just serves one area. You have to think about that flexibility, and you have to think about hybrid. There is no point creating a best practice for small clients of a certain age when your wealthiest clients are burdened with tons and tons of administration. So consider creating a single best practice that spreads across your entire client base, that can improve the experience of both your internal customers, the front office, and your end customers, because everybody will benefit from those improvements. Now, I spent a bit of time bemoaning the front office, and a bit of time talking it up. And I'll do a bit more of that now. We've all been on Zooms for hours. We've all had millions of emails, Excel docs, proposals, and all of this stuff. The medium for problem solving is face-to-face. That's the best way to engage with somebody on a really difficult point. So add to this that wealth managers have this really uncanny skill of uncovering the client's powerful why. And what I mean by that is somebody could turn up to a wealth manager or a planner or a banker with what they think is the problem or what they're saying is the problem. But a skilled wealth manager will notice the tells, the looks between partners. They'll know the backstory and understand all that detail, and they'll really pull out the powerful why. Not the reason that the person engages with the wealth manager in the first place, but the reason the person stays with them for the duration. But once that's been done, once the plan's in place, things can get a little bit underwhelming. Because next year, an ISA is still an ISA. Market's gone up and down. What's there to talk about? Now, if face-to-face is to be the premium, like the concert, something exciting or something engaging has to occur. And that's something that technology can deliver hand in glove with the wealth manager in order to create that exceptional experience. So when digitizing, don't forget the premium experience is going to be face-to-face. So, product set stays the same, but face-to-face is the premium. It's client-led and tech-enabled. This is all fantastic. So that surely means the commercial model at some point has to change. So in the streaming world, again, large parts of the streaming world come from, or large parts of the revenue comes from advertisements. We can't stop a client mid-ISA journey for a word from our sponsors. That's not going to work. But we have to think that if the client is self-serving, picking up and putting down face-to-face, they're going to expect some price compression. It's occurred in every other industry, and we can't expect that not to happen in wealth management. So when bringing the business on a digital journey, challenge the business to look at new business models, new commercial models, better ways of doing it. Don't leave it to the last minute, because change will get forced upon you if you're still sat there expecting to get your 1 to 3% implementation, 75 basis points going on when the client has done 90% of the work. So, look, personally, I've really enjoyed the presentation, and I have to thank my marketing colleagues for allowing me to kind of ramble on, talking about music, adding a bit of fun, but making some points. But in keeping up with the theme of music, I said 5, I have a bonus track, a 6th suggestion. Wealth management is built on trust, built on that handshake, that referral, look in the eye. But when you move online, you have to think about digital trust, and that's not the same. You don't automatically get digital trust because you've given somebody a handshake. So when you're thinking about digital trust, you're thinking about security, privacy, and protection. You're also thinking about ease and referrals and all of the information that comes with having that conversation with the person. So if you're trying to create that flexible, hybrid environment that allows the customer to do whatever they want at whatever speed they need it to happen, you have to think about how they can engage with you and build trust in the same fluid manner. So as the lyrics say, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Right now, technology is probably taking the role of the roadie to the front office rock star. But if we digitize well and we digitize successfully, we then become the streaming platform, the producer, and the record label, leaving the front office as the rock star, but us having a much more significant impact than we're having today. Thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, you can find us at the Irish stand.